All right, you maggots, listen up. My last video, I showed you a link to one of the books that I spent a lot of my childhood going through. And it shows a book of things to make. And if you really go through the book, you'll notice it teaches you how to do electroplating, electro-etching. As you go through it, it shows you all the basics for a lot of the YouTube things that people do. People get a science book, they do an experiment, they make it content. I'm looking at it a different way. I'm showing you where you can find content. Now, the last, it was a book of things to make. I told you, well, I said my father probably paid 50 cents for the book. Now, the next thing he bought was the Popular Science and Mechanics Encyclopedia. I don't know the exact name of it, but I went looking, and it's at the archives. It is there. So now you have, it doesn't have all the volumes. It's got, I think, 8 out of 12. But now you have the ability to see how I started out. As a little kid, I'd go through these different books, and I'd see a project, and I would build it. And it's because most of the projects were built from stuff you could pull out of the garbage somewhere, or you could get from someone, or my father would locate it from a friend at work. That was the secret. I didn't just sit there and say, gee, I wish I could buy this, or gee, I wish I could buy that. It would always start out, let's see if I can make it. And that's my frame of mind to this day. And I still got the gear floating around. Here's the blank. Oh, and this thing in the frame, what is that? Well, that's I built the EPROM programmer, and then I came up with a copier. In other words, you put the blank EPROM over here, and the one you want to copy over here, and you leave your switches in the neutral position. And when you do step, save, step, save, step, save, the information from this EPROM gets copied over to this EPROM. And someone will say, gee, that takes a long time. Do you have an EPROM programmer? That's what I used to say to these guys. I would be telling them what I'm doing, and they would actually say, well, it's easier to buy an EPROM programmer. Well, do you have an EPROM? No, I don't have. Well, I have one. It takes a half hour to copy an EPROM. And in the case of building this one computer I built from scratch, there was a common area in each EPROM that you had to put in there. Well, I made an EPROM with the common area. I put the common area EPROM over here, and I put the blank over here, and I make a few EPROMs with the common area. Then all I had to do was put the EPROM back in the programmer, step to a certain location, and then add in the program that I was trying to run with the microprocessor. And there I had a working microprocessor project that it played music. It was a frequency counter. It was a burglar alarm. It had several projects. And I bought the book. And then the guy next to me asked for the book, and I loaned him the book, and he built the computer. And the two of us learned microprocessors, the basic layout, way before everybody else in the company. See, that's the thing. You just put a couple of those baby steps forward, and you're ahead of everybody else. And then they have to play make-believe with the boss, and you don't. All right, now, I'm going to put a link there, just like I did the last time, and there's 8 volumes of the encyclopedia. I told you I couldn't tell you which projects are in what book. I just know that when I would think about a project, or it would be, say, electroplating or electro-etching, I knew one of the books had it. And I'd have to go through the index for the encyclopedias. If I didn't find it there, I knew it was in the big book of things to make. Right? So that's where we're at now. I want to tell you, I think it was volume 3. I just downloaded and double checked to make sure it's going to work for you. I think that's where the crossbow is in there. Now, I didn't build the crossbow exactly like the crossbow in there. I used a strut, a metal strut from would be a rack system. Um, on a rack system, you got those crossbars, which are steel. In the old days, they were steel. And I put one of them on the end of my crossbow and just shot this dart across the uh, cellar. And then basically, it wasn't as powerful as a real crossbow, but in other words, the mechanism when you pull back the trigger, go look at the crossbow, and you'll be able to understand what's inside of everything you want to build, uh, the basics. And then you'll say, well, it's cheaper just to buy it. Yes, it is. It's always just cheaper to buy it if you have the money. I think that's it. All right, that's it. Check the link.